Good morning, friends. This is Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is cord cutters and TV streaming news. So let's talk about cord cutters and TV streamers. These two labels are certainly related, but aren't necessarily the same. Not all cord cutters become TV streamers. Some of them cut the cord simply to save money. Some may use a TV antenna to receive a bunch of broadcast TV channels for free, or use Lowcast for $5.50 a month. Of course, most cord cutters do switch to TV streaming eventually, and some subscribe to a paid streaming service that often costs less than cable or satellite TV. Nor are all TV streamers cord cutters. In fact, I'd wager that most young people starting out on their own never even had a cable to cut. They've been streaming TV from the internet for several years and probably taught their parents about TV streaming. Now, some TV streamers are so into it that they even subscribe to free weekly cord-cutting newsletters. Yours truly does. Two of the most popular newsletters are Cord Cutter Weekly and Cord Cutters News. It's safe to say that Cord Cutter Weekly, cutter is singular, is the largest and best known cord cutting newsletter. Cord Cutter Weekly also produces several videos each week that appear on YouTube. Their well-known logo is at the right. Take a look at it. You'll see it often. Both interesting and confusing is that Cord Cutter Weekly's frequent YouTube videos are listed under the name of Cord Cutters, plural, News. It's the name of its smaller rival's newsletter. That's interesting. Go figure. Though Jared Newman's Cord Cutters News has fewer subscribers and may not have a logo, I think his newsletter is very good. Also, it periodically contains valuable charts comparing streaming services, streaming devices, and other aspects of streaming TV. In fact, some of my Tech Talk information today is taken from a recent edition of Jared's Cord Cutters News letter. Continuing on, Google's YouTube TV has added the rest of the Viacom CBS-owned channels that it first announced for the service way back in May of 2020. These channels include BET Her, Dabble, MTV2, MTV Classic, Nick Jr., Nicktoons, and Teen Nick. Now, the first batch of these channels, including Nickelodeon, BET, and Comedy Central, among others, arrived on YouTube TV last July alongside of a $15 a month price hike. Now, YouTube TV costs $64.99, $65 a month. The NFL has announced a flurry of deals with TV networks governing the next decade of broadcasting rights, and it presents a mixed picture for the unbundling of sports. Amazon will now carry all Thursday night football games on Prime. That's new. But the NFL Network will get a new batch of games on Saturdays. Peacock Streaming will stream select Sunday night games on its service, but other games will remain exclusive to NBC. ESPN now has the right to simulcast Monday night football games on ESPN Plus. However, this may not actually happen for several years. The only clear case of unbundling comes from Paramount Plus, which will offer CBS games to subscribers just as CBS All Access has done in previous years. The last remaining wild card is NFL Sunday Ticket, which will remain with DirecTV through 2022. Rumors this week that ESPN is snatching up those rights are most likely unfounded. But either way, it looks like you'll continue to need an antenna or Lowcast to get thorough NFL coverage for the foreseeable future. In several recent Tech Talks, I spoke about Lowcast, the streaming service that streams local broadcast TV channels to subscribers in 30 large U.S. market areas for a $5.50 monthly donation. It's free if you could tolerate a commercial every 10, 15 minutes. Well, Intrado Global News Service announced last week that Locast has just added the Portland, Oregon market area with 3 million people to its service, making it the 31st Locast market area. Now, Locast now serves about half of the United States' 330 million plus population. Several screens back, I mentioned Cord Cutters Weekly's regular YouTube videos that appear under the label of Cord Cutters News. And there, Cord Cutters is plural. On March 25th, Cord Cutters News host Philip Palermo devoted an entire 18-minute program to Locast, how it works, supported cities, and more. It was very well done. Like I just say in the next paragraph, this YouTube video was exceptionally well done. And I'd suggest if you're interested in Locast, you search YouTube using the title above, Locast, how it works, etc., or the words Cord Cutter Weekly. I guess that's Cord Cutters Weekly, isn't it? Back to sports news. CordCuttersNews.com reports that Sinclair Radio Networks, which was formerly Fox Regional Sports Networks, will rebrand as Bally Sports on March 31. With the rebranding, 2 channels are being retired, Fox Sports Carolinas and Fox Sports Tennessee. Also, Nashville Predators and Carolina Hurricanes content will now be found on Bally Sports South and Bally Sports Southeast, respectively. 2 other channels will get new names based on their locations. Prime Ticket will become Bally Sports SoCal, or Southern California, and Sports Time Ohio will become Bally Sports Great Lakes. 19 of the Sinclair-owned channels will have new Bally names like Bally Sports Arizona, Bally Sports Florida, Bally Sports North, and so forth. You can simply Google Bally Sports to see the complete list. But here's a map showing Bally's coverage. Let you concentrate on that for a moment. So you can check your area. I see Minnesota is covered. Finally, a reminder that on March 26th, the price of Disney Plus increased to $8 per month or $80 a year. That's rounding off, up from $7 per month currently. If you like the service enough to keep it year-round, it'll cost you $100 a year. Meanwhile, Amazon is running a promotion where you can receive a month of Paramount Plus through Prime Video channels for free. It's a heck of a deal. Just hit Get Started and select the ad-supported plan to pay nothing. Well, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I'm sticking with it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and have a great day.
Will effectively make it quite easy to get signals to all parts of your house. Now, for large homes, you should consider a mesh router. I have a mesh router. I use a system called the Orbi. It's made by Netgear. These are adaptable to any size of your house. They are purchased by the square footage of your coverage you want. We'll talk a bit about that in a minute. The firmware is done automatically. There's no loss of speed with nodes. And there's a single SSD for the entire house. And we'll talk a bit about that as well. And they broadcast in 2.4 and 2. We are going to take this mesh router system and put it in a 3-story house. The base station will go on the first floor, the first satellite will go on the second floor, and the second satellite on the third floor. Let's have a look and see how this is going to look. Here's our 3-story house. On the third floor, we have kids playing 4K games. On the second floor, we have Mom, who's a teacher, doing a Zoom conference. On the first floor, we have Dad checking email. If we look at the bandwidth requirements, I've allocated this as roughly 60, 30, and 10 as a distribution. If we look at internet speed, if we look at the speed of how you would be allocating this frequency in this, you'll see on the left side, you'll see with an extender, as we move up, it would certainly be a decreasing speed. With the mesh system, it's the same. What the mesh system does do, though, is it reallocates the bandwidth and will selectively make the bandwidth higher priority for the two kids playing 4K video games with their televisions. Now let's look at things change. The kids go to sleep, and now we have mom who's doing the conference and dad checking email. There is a reallocation of bandwidth. And again, I've split it about 80-20. And this is exactly what the mesh router would reallocate to allow the effective use of the system. This is a big advantage of a mesh router system. All right, how does the mesh router system adjust the workflow to the demand? This is done through what we call a backhaul channel. So for example, with my Orbi, I have a 2.4 gigahertz frequency, but I have two 5 gigahertz frequencies. So it uses one of the 5 gigahertz frequencies to fill and move the data to points in the system that require it. Now a little trick is that if you do have a mesh router system, you have a number of satellite units in your house, and you're using it wirelessly, but you also can connect that to a wired internet connection in your house, you should do so. Because then the backhaul channel can actually be a wired connection. It doesn't have to be wireless. And that means you just plug it into the back of your mesh router. So that is one of the huge advantages in a mesh router system, is the good coverage and the selective movement of workflow data that you need depending on what the demand is at that time. So you might want to give it a consideration. Now I wanted to review the USB ports on your computer. This is important and a place where you can make a big mistake. In this current slide, you'll see my laptop. I have an IBM ThinkPad, and you'll see on the side, you'll see it has a HDMI port, but it has two USB ports. Now on the other side, which you can't see, there's one USB port, so I have 3 USB ports on this laptop. The important thing that you need to know is that all USB ports are not the same. And I have a docking station that I plug into one of my USB ports. This docking station has all my monitors coming into it. It has my internet coming in, and this all connects into one of my USB ports. Well, on the right side of my computer, on the laptop, is a USB 2 port. The two on the left side of my computer are USB 3.1. Now what's the difference? Well, there's a big difference, and in the diagram here you'll see some different types of USB ports. Now I have a whole series of 15 slides on the numbering nomenclature for USB ports. You don't want to see it, you'll never remember it. It's really complicated, and the little symbols are so small it's really hard to see them. But there actually is a labeling system you can use for this. The easiest way to do it is simply to get your instruction manual for your computer and look, and it will tell you what the ports are on your computer because it depends on what you want to plug in. For example, if you have a mouse, you would want to plug it in, if you're using it as a wired connection, into USB 2. It doesn't use much power, it doesn't need to be fast, but if you had an external hard drive, you want to plug it into your fast port. Now this gets more complicated if you have, I just bought a new computer from Dell. It has 12 USB ports. It has a Thunderbolt port. It has 4 ports on the front and 8 ports on the back, USB ports. So you need to know what those ports are because it can save you a lot of money. For example, let's talk about USB Thunderbolt 3. Now, most of you won't have a Thunderbolt 3 port. This is sort of unusual on a laptop, but I do have a Thunderbolt 3 on my main computer I just bought. And it is the fastest data transfer on USB, and it's 40 gigabytes per second. So it's an extremely fast transfer. So if you had a Thunderbolt USB port on your your computer and you wanted to buy a Thunderbolt drive, for example, you connect them to, you have a very, very, very fast system. But most people won't have Thunderbolt 3, but you will have USB 3.1, and the transfer of USB 3.1 is 5 gigabits per second. But now, sneaky coming up here, there's a new standard coming out, and it's 3.1 generation 2, and that is 10 gigabits per second. Well, what's the difference? Big deal. USB 3.1, that's both there, but one's generation 1 and one's generation 2. Well, I just bought a 2 terabyte hard drive, an SSD external hard drive. And in the options, I had the choice of choosing between two different models. And there was about $150 difference between the two models, and it was based on transfer speed. And because my laptop is limited to the 3.1 generation 1 at 5 gigabits per second, it would have been no use whatsoever to spend the extra $150 to buy the more expensive solid state drive. So again, you need to know what ports you're using and what the labeling of the ports is for sure, because they're not all equal, and you want to be careful what you plug in, because you don't want to be plugging your fast SSD external hard drive into your slowest port. So please have a look at that, check your manual, and review the USB ports on your computer. All right, in closing, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Wi-Fi 6. This is a new standard that you'll be seeing available on routers when you go to Best Buy and buy them. So should you purchase Wi-Fi 6 or not? Well, for sure it is going to be more expensive, but there's something I want you to consider. As we move ahead, you'll find that the speed at which we are receiving internet signal is going up considerably. And you all understand that. In fact, it's quite common now to be able to get a gigabit service to your house. A lot of what we do in our homes requires Wi-Fi, and we're transferring data back and forth. And you all understand, of course, that to transfer data faster, Wi-Fi has to be better, because it could be the slowest part of your system, and so you wouldn't be able to get benefit from a very fast internet supply. And I think you all understand that. So yes, we have to move ahead with Wi-Fi so that we're able to transmit faster speeds. One of the things that's important that's a change between Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 6 is simply this. In this video, I pointed out all the benefits of 5 gigahertz, right? Remember that? It's in a smaller room, it's less interference, and we already discussed that. And we discussed the problems of network congestion on the 2.4 gigahertz. What Wi-Fi 6 does, Wi-Fi 5 only was involved in the 5 gigahertz, but Wi-Fi 6 now is taking the 2.4 gigahertz, the slower speed that we talked about, and it's dramatically increasing the speed of 2.4 gigahertz. So the beauty of 2.4 gigahertz is it goes much farther, but we always wanted to use the 5 because it's much faster. But with Wi-Fi 6, this is all changing, and this is going to have a big effect on the speed of your system. So I think even though, yes, everything is going to have to convert to Wi-Fi 6. It'll be backwards compatible. Yes, your computer will have to have Wi-Fi 6 in it. Your Internet of Things devices will have to have Wi-Fi 6. And of course, your router will have to be a Wi-Fi 6 enabled. But this is a standard that's going to quickly transform into most of the routers that we purchase. They are more expensive. If you go to buy an Orbi system now that have Wi-Fi 6 in it, you're going to be paying about $150 more. I do think, though, that this is quickly going to change, and this is going to be the standard with some pretty big advantages. So you might want to consider this in your purchase of your next router.
Bluetooth connectivity.
Hang on a second here.
This is part 2 of 2. I'm Hewie Poplock. Bluetooth, more than you need to know. Whoops. In order to take advantage of Bluetooth 5, you'll need new Bluetooth 5 gear. But the devices you connect to have to use Bluetooth 5 compatible hardware as well. That means Bluetooth 5 headphones, smart home devices, speakers, mice, keyboards, whatever. Bluetooth 5 is quickly becoming the norm. It's backwards compatible. The good news is Bluetooth 5 hardware is fully backward compatible with prior versions of Bluetooth. Your Bluetooth 5 phone will have no problem at all with working with all the Bluetooth headphones, speakers, fitness trackers, automobiles, and everything else out there. You won't get any of the benefits of the new technology, though it will work as if you didn't have Bluetooth 5 capability in your phone, tablet, or computer at all. The Bluetooth 5 spec allows low energy transmissions to sacrifice data rate for more range. A lot more range, up to 4 times the range of Bluetooth 4.2 LE, for a maximum of around 800 feet. That's a theoretical maximum, mind you. In the real world, you can expect much less, though it's still going to be a huge improvement over older versions of Bluetooth. You won't get that kind of range all the time on all devices. Developers have to consciously choose to sacrifice total bandwidth for range, but it's perfect for many Internet of Things or IoT devices, which often transmit small amounts of data but need to reach all over a house or a large store. In addition to the capability to sacrifice bandwidth for greatly extended range, Bluetooth 5 adds a new interface to double bandwidth at the expense of power. This new physical layer, PHY, supports speeds of up to 2 megabits per second and higher transmission power of 20 dB in low energy mode. In other words, the new Bluetooth version offers two interfaces for low energy operation, one to transmit less data over a much longer distance, and one to transmit twice the data over a shorter range. This is great news for devices that need to transmit bursts of large amounts of data, like a firmware update, or for data-hungry applications like audio or video. It also means that we may one day see Bluetooth headphones that use the low energy spec, which could massively increase battery life. Bluetooth 5 adds enhancements to low energy operation in addition to the optional higher bandwidth or longer range connections. For example, it brings an 8-fold increase in broadcast data efficiency. That means essentially 8 times as many connected devices. Collectively, Bluetooth 1.0 to Bluetooth version 3.0 is known as Classic Bluetooth. From Bluetooth version 4.0 onwards, it is known as Bluetooth Low Energy, BLE, or Smart Bluetooth. The Bluetooth technology has improved a lot, and the future of this technology looks great. The best part is that the latest versions of Bluetooth are all backward compatible with older versions. That means you can connect a Bluetooth device supporting an older version using a device that supports the latest versions. However, you will be limited to the features supported by the older version. Still, it makes sense to buy the products which support the latest Bluetooth versions. The dual audio feature of Bluetooth 5.0 is particularly interesting for people who love using wireless headphones. Also, don't settle for anything less than Bluetooth 4.2 nowadays, as without the BLE, the battery life of the Bluetooth device would be really bad. A set of earphones can connect to a laptop, a computer, an iPad, a PSP, a Sony, Samsung, Lenovo, Nokia, Moto, and iPhone. Bluetooth is a wireless technology that has been around for 20 years. It allows multiple devices to connect, interact, and sync without needing to set up complex networks and passwords. Bluetooth is everywhere these days, from mobile phones to laptops, and even car stereos. Bluetooth supports a wide variety of different devices and can be set up in just a few minutes. Bluetooth is a wireless technology that allows two different devices to connect. Every Bluetooth device has one or more profiles installed. These profiles determine what device is capable of, such as hands-free mobile headsets or human interface device, a computer mouse. In order for two devices to connect, they must both have the same profile. You can generally tell what devices will work with each other by looking at them logically. You wouldn't be able to pair a mouse with a camera since the camera isn't designed to be controlled by the mouse. On the other hand, it would make sense to connect a headset to a mobile phone since they are designed to work together. The most common pairings. If you're unsure as to whether your device will work together, there are several cases where Bluetooth use is very popular. Knowing these can help you determine how to connect your devices. Connecting a hands-free headset to a mobile phone. Connecting wireless mice, keyboards, and printers to laptops and other computers. Connecting portable media players and smartphones to speakers and car stereos. Wirelessly connecting video game controllers to computers and game consoles. The method to connect two devices will vary in every situation, but it generally follows the same basic process. You will need to make one device discoverable and then search for devices with the second device. For example, if you wanted to connect a headset to your smartphone, you would put the headset into the discovery mode, refer to its documentation, and then search for discoverable devices on your smartphone. You may also be asked to enter a PIN when connecting your devices. If you don't know the PIN, it's generally 0000, 1111, or 1234. This can vary for some devices, and if you can't find it, you may need to reset the device. Once your devices are connected, you can start using them in conjunction. For example, you may have connected your smartphone to some wireless speakers, allowing you to play music through them. You may have connected a mouse to your laptop, and now you can use your mouse to move the cursor. When connecting a Bluetooth device to a computer, you may need to install the drivers for the device. This is usually done automatically, though. The device may have come with a driver installation disk. You can also download drivers from the manufacturer's website. There is no general Bluetooth driver, only drivers for specific devices. If you want to connect a Bluetooth device to a desktop PC, chances are the desktop PC does not have Bluetooth functionality. You will need to purchase and install a Bluetooth USB dongle in order to connect devices to the PC. Most laptops and virtually all Macs have Bluetooth support built in. There are some guides on WikiHow that will help you. If you're having difficulty pairing your devices, there are a variety of articles on WikiHow that can help you get it all sorted out. Here is a Bluetooth dongle version 5.0. It will support devices to connect at the same time, a mouse, a keyboard, printer, headset, and speaker, for instance. There's also a Bluetooth 5.0 transmitter. It will receive or send Bluetooth signals. It sells for under $50. Don't forget that Bluetooth can be hacked. Bluetooth can be hacked while using this technology has offered a lot of creative comforts. It also exposed people to cyber attacks. Almost all devices are Bluetooth enabled, from smartphones to cars. People are surrounded by this technology every single day. But what many don't realize is that using a Bluetooth connection comes with a host of security and privacy risks. Bluetooth allows devices to link to each other over very short distances, often for a short period only. As such, most Bluetooth hackers rely on getting within a close range of a target and performing the attack in a limited time frame. Crowded public areas are known hotspots for Bluetooth hackers, especially those places where people tend to stay for longer, i.e., coffee shops. When the target moves out of range, it might seem like it's game over for the attacker. It is important to note that some attacks can be carried out even from hundreds of feet away. So moving a few feet isn't exactly moving out of range. Some cyber criminals have also found a way to hack into a device's Bluetooth connection and take control of the device, all in just 10 seconds. What's even more alarming is that hackers can do this without interacting with the user. So, how to protect yourself from Bluetooth hackers? Turn off your Bluetooth when you're not using it. Don't share sensitive information when you are. Change Bluetooth settings to not discoverable. Be careful who you pair with. Avoid pairing devices in public. Don't forget to unpair and install patches and updates. Okay, what's the difference between these two items, other than the color and the markings? Well, one is a 4.2 Bluetooth head piece or headset. The other is 5.0. How could you tell? Well, you can't by just looking at them. But one is a Bluetooth 4.2, the other is 5.0. The transmission distance about the same. Playing and talk time, though, even though the one for the Y12 says it's less than 4 hours, it turns out to be less than 2 hours. However, on the F88 that I have, I can get more than 9 hours. Standby time, that means where you're not using it, it's on, but nothing is going through it. There's 160 hours on the Y12, over 200 hours on the F88. And the charging time is about between an hour and a half and 2 hours for either one of them. So this has been Bluetooth Connectivity. I'm Hewie Poplock. Thanks for joining.